There comes a moment when the mask falls, when the secrets are no longer secrets, and when men finally open their eyes to a truth that was hidden in plain sight. Once that happens, the game changes forever. Because knowledge is power, and when a man finally discovers this one thing, everything he thought he knew about women, about love, and about relationships will never be the same again. Once men know women can no longer play the same games, once men know everything is finished, the first truth that men must wake up to is the difference between genuine love and conditional love. For years, men have been told that when a woman says she loves you, it means she loves all of you, every part of you, without any boundaries or expectations. But when you look deeper, you begin to notice patterns. You notice that the way she treats you changes depending on what you can provide. You notice that her tone of voice shifts when the money is low, when the attention fades, when the excitement isn't there anymore. And then you realize that so much of what you thought was unconditional is actually tied to invisible strings. These strings pull and twist in ways you did not see at first. But once your eyes are open, you can never go back to blindness. You begin to see that many women's affection is tied to circumstances. It is tied to how safe you make her feel, how much you provide, how much you pour into her. And the problem isn't that conditions exist. The problem is that men walk into relationships believing that love is always pure, that it will always be returned the same way it is given. And so they give endlessly without question. They give until they are empty. They give until they have nothing left, believing that loyalty and sacrifice will guarantee loyalty and sacrifice in return. But that is not how the game works. Once a man wakes up to this truth, he becomes sharper. He stops giving blindly. He stops offering his time, his energy, his money, and his devotion without first observing what is being given back. He begins to measure actions instead of listening only to words. He begins to watch how she treats him when he is at his lowest, not just when he is at his best. And suddenly he sees the hidden agreements. He sees the silent contracts that were never spoken out loud, but were always in play. He realizes that what was called love was often admiration for his consistency, or gratitude for his efforts, or security for the life he provides, but not the deep, unconditional devotion he imagined it to be. And that realization changes him. It does not make him bitter. It makes him wise. Because now, instead of giving endlessly, he learns to choose wisely. He learns to protect his energy. He learns to say no when it is not deserved. This knowledge shifts the power because the man is no longer a servant to blind affection. He is no longer fooled by temporary sweetness that shows up only when she needs something. He no longer gives out of desperation for approval. He begins to understand that love is not about what he can provide alone. It must also be about who he is, what he stands for, and how he is treated when he has nothing to give. When a man understands this, women can no longer play the same games with him. They can no longer dangle affection like a reward to control his actions. They can no longer withdraw love to punish him into submission, because he now knows the difference. He knows that genuine love does not disappear when circumstances change. He knows that real connection does not vanish when money slows down, when challenges appear, or when he is not at his best. And with this knowledge, he becomes unshakable. The second truth that transforms a man's understanding is the power of attention. Most men do not realize that attention is one of the most valuable currencies they possess. From the moment a man begins to like a woman, he pours his attention on her like water on dry ground. He texts constantly, he calls, he compliments, he notices every little detail about her, and he gives this attention freely, believing it is harmless. But the reality is that attention is energy, and energy is influence, and influence is power. Women know this instinctively. They know how much attention feeds them. They know how much of their confidence is reinforced by being desired, admired, and constantly reminded of their beauty and importance. And for many women, it is not even about love. It is about the high that comes with being pursued, the thrill of knowing that someone is always available to shower them with validation. This is why so many men are strung along. They give and give attention, believing they are building a bond, while the woman is simply enjoying the benefits of being noticed without ever truly investing back. But when a man discovers the truth about his attention, everything changes. He realizes that every glance, every compliment, every message, every hour of conversation is valuable. He realizes that the more he gives away freely, the less value it holds. Because what is abundant is often taken for granted, and suddenly he understands why the woman who once seemed interested began to pull away. He sees why his constant presence did not bring her closer, but pushed her further. It wasn't because she didn't enjoy his attention, it was because she had too much of it. She never had to earn it. She never had to value it. She never had to give back in order to receive it. The moment a man pulls back and guards his attention, the balance shifts. When he stops giving validation recklessly, when he stops chasing endlessly, when he stops pouring his time into a woman who does not reciprocate, he regains control. His silence speaks louder than his words. His absence becomes more powerful than his presence. And women notice it immediately. They notice when the stream of validation dries up. They notice when the constant reassurance is no longer there. And they begin to feel something they rarely feel with men who are always available. Curiosity, desire, even a little bit of fear. Because attention that is controlled has value, and value creates attraction. This is the moment when a man understands that the most powerful thing he can do is not to give everything away, but to give selectively. He does not withhold affection out of cruelty. He withholds it because he knows it must be earned. He knows his time is precious, his energy is sacred, and his attention is not a free gift to anyone who looks his way. This realization turns him from a chaser into a chooser. He no longer competes for a woman's validation. Because he has learned that his validation is the true prize, women can no longer dangle themselves as bait to extract endless attention when a man knows the worth of what he gives. He has turned his focus inward. He invests in his goals, in his body, in his money, in his growth, and suddenly his attention becomes rare. And rarity creates value. The third truth that changes everything for a man is emotional control. For years, men have been taught, whether directly or indirectly, that to prove love, they must react. If she ignores you, show her how much you care. If she withdraws, chase after her. If she tests your patience, raise your voice to demonstrate your passion. And if she leaves, beg her to come back. This cycle has trapped men in emotional slavery for generations, making them prisoners of their own feelings. What most men do not realize is that the strongest weapon women use in relationships is not always beauty or charm, but the ability to control a man's emotions. They test his anger, they test his jealousy, they test his insecurity, and they watch carefully to see how he responds. If he explodes, she knows she has the power to move him like a puppet. If he panics, she knows she can manipulate his fear of loss. If he becomes desperate, she knows she can control the terms of the relationship. And this is where most men fail, because they believe their reactions prove their love, when in reality, their reactions only reveal their weakness. But something powerful happens when a man learns emotional control. Suddenly, the games stop working. The silent treatment no longer pushes him into a frenzy of apologies. The sudden mood swings no longer make him question himself. The threats of leaving no longer send him into a state of begging. Because he has mastered calmness, he has built a wall around his emotions, not to shut out love, but to protect his strength. And strength, in the eyes of any woman, is far more attractive than weakness. A man who does not crumble under pressure becomes mysterious. His silence unsettles her. His calmness confuses her. His refusal to be dragged into unnecessary arguments shifts the balance of power. When a man learns emotional control, he stops being predictable. He stops being easy to manipulate. A woman can no longer pull him back and forth like a puppet because his responses are steady and consistent. She realizes she must now engage him with respect, not with games. This transforms the entire dynamic of the relationship because when emotions are no longer used as weapons, true character is revealed. Without emotional control, a man will always be reactive, always dancing to the tune of her moods. With emotional control, a man sets the rhythm, and she must follow if she wants to keep up. Emotional control also changes the way a man sees himself. He is no longer ashamed of his feelings, but he no longer allows them to rule him. He understands that anger is weakness when it is uncontrolled. He understands that jealousy is insecurity when it is loud. He understands that begging is desperation dressed as devotion. So instead, he chooses to stand firm. He chooses to respond only when necessary. He chooses to let silence carry the weight of his confidence. And that confidence is magnetic. It is unshakable. It is the kind of energy that makes people respect him before they even know him fully. This truth terrifies women because it strips away one of the most powerful tools they have ever used to test and manipulate men. When a man no longer reacts to her provocations, when he no longer bends under her pressure, when he no longer dances to the rhythm of her emotions, she is forced to meet him at his level. She cannot control him with tears, with anger, with withdrawal, or with threats. She must now decide whether her love is genuine because the old tactics no longer work. The fourth truth that shifts the entire balance between men and women is the reality of options. Most men grow up believing that women are the ones with choices while men must compete. They are told that she is the prize, that he must prove himself worthy, that his role is to chase, provide, and perform just to keep her attention. This belief keeps men trapped in scarcity. It makes them desperate, fearful of losing one woman because they imagine she is the only one who will ever want them. And when a man operates from this place of fear, he accepts less than he deserves. He tolerates disrespect. He lowers his standards. He allows himself to be used because deep down, he does not believe he can find better. But the truth is that options exist for men as well. And the moment a man realizes this, the power shifts completely. A man's options do not fall into his lap the way they often do for women. A young woman can walk into a room and draw attention without saying a word. Her beauty alone can open doors. But a man's options are built. They are forged in the gym when he chooses discipline over laziness. They are built in his career when he invests time and effort into becoming financially independent. They are strengthened in his character when he develops confidence, social skills, and a sense of purpose. A man who does not build has limited choices, but a man who builds is never without options. And when he finally sees this, he stops moving like a desperate beggar. He begins to stand like a chooser. Once a man has options, everything changes in his relationships. He no longer fears losing one woman because he understands that another will come, often better than the one before. He no longer clings to someone who disrespects him because he knows respect can be found elsewhere. He no longer tolerates games or manipulation because he knows he is not stuck. This realization removes desperation from his energy, and women feel that instantly. They sense when a man is not afraid to walk away. They sense when a man has choices. And ironically, it is this very energy that makes them want him more. Options create freedom, and freedom is power. A man who knows he has options cannot be trapped. He cannot be controlled by threats of leaving. He cannot be blackmailed with withdrawal of affection. He cannot be tricked into lowering his standards for fear of being alone, because he is never truly alone. He understands abundance, not scarcity. He understands that the world is filled with opportunities, and he is capable of attracting them. This mindset is dangerous for women who rely on men's desperation to maintain control. Because once a man has choices, he becomes fearless. He is not afraid of rejection. He is not afraid of silence. He is not afraid of endings. And without fear, there is nothing to manipulate. When men collectively understand this truth, the game is over. Women will no longer hold the illusion of endless power because men will know they too are valuable. They too are rare when they build themselves. They too are the prize when they choose discipline, growth, and self-mastery. The man with options does not beg. He does not settle. He does not allow himself to be broken down. He stands tall because he knows he can walk away at any moment and still live fully, still love freely, still find someone who will appreciate what he offers. The final truth that men must come to understand, the one that seals everything together, is self-respect. Too many men enter relationships ready to give everything except the one thing that matters most, and that is respect for themselves. They put romance above dignity. They put desire above standards. They put beauty above boundaries. And when they do this, they unknowingly give away their crown. A man without self-respect is like a kingdom without walls, easy to invade, easy to conquer, easy to control. Women sense it immediately. They know when a man is willing to bend his principles just to keep them close. They know when a man is willing to overlook lies, excuses, and broken promises because he is too afraid to walk away. They know when his attraction outweighs his self-worth. And once they know this, they test him again and again, because a man who cannot defend his respect cannot defend his love either. But the moment a man truly grasps the value of self-respect, he becomes untouchable. He no longer negotiates his dignity in exchange for temporary affection. He no longer sacrifices his peace just to say he has someone by his side. He no longer tolerates disrespect, because he knows that the way he allows himself to be treated sets the standard for the entire relationship. This understanding transforms the way he moves. His words carry weight, not because he is loud, but because he is firm. His presence commands respect, not because he demands it, but because he embodies it. Self-respect also teaches a man to draw clear boundaries. Not walls that shut people out, but lines that define how far others can go. A man with self-respect will not accept shouting, name-calling, manipulation, or betrayal disguised as love. He will not accept being treated as an option while giving his all. He will not accept half-hearted effort from someone who expects full devotion from him. He draws these lines not out of arrogance, but out of understanding, because he knows love without respect is an illusion. And the truth is, once a man raises his standards, a woman is forced to rise to meet them or leave. Either way, the man wins because he has kept his integrity intact. This truth frightens women who are used to pushing men's limits